Welcome to the Unraveling Achiever, the podcast for the person who's done everything right and is now questioning what that even means. I'm Angela McKay, former SVP of HR turned intuitive career coach and soul reading practitioner. I help accomplished folks like you to stop defaulting to what looks good and start building what feels true. Because you don't have to turn your life upside down, you just need to point your achiever energy toward a soul-led career and life you'll love. Every episode, I tune into the energy of what's showing up for my clients and community and share what needs to be heard. No bypassing the mess, just honest guidance for the unraveling that changes everything. Let's get into it. All right, I hope that you all are having a great week, that you're enjoying your summer. It's the last week of July. I can't believe it's almost August. We are in a crazy heat wave right now. So, everybody in the same heat wave, stay safe. Otherwise, I'm just trying to embrace summer for what it is before it's gone because, I can slip on the ice, but I've never slipped on sunshine. So I'll just embrace this. I think we're about midsummer here in the northern hemisphere. School gets started really soon. Things are about to kind of shift. So it's almost like I want to find a bit of summer slowness before that all really gets going. Okay, quick reminder before we dive in. I've been taking listener questions and doing readings on the show. If you have something on your heart and mind about your career, your life direction, your purpose, what's calling you forward, submit it. Your name stays private, only your question gets read. The link is in the show notes, and I'd love to hear what's coming up for you. Okay? Let's get into today's topic. Today, we are very on brand at the Unraveling Achiever, and we're talking about making the right choices for you or not. I want to start here. I have a feeling you already know what it feels like when you make an aligned choice. There is a settledness to it. Even if it's kind of scary, even if it feels hard, there's a rightness underneath it. You might not have all the answers, but something in you goes, yeah, this is it. And you also know what it feels like to make an unaligned choice. Because even when it looks good on paper, even when everyone around you nods and says, smart move, there's this low hum of unease, a little voice that whispers, this isn't quite it. And you push through anyway. You take that voice and you just kind of tuck it aside. Here's the question then. If we already know the difference, if we can actually feel it, why do we still choose the unaligned option so often? That's what today is about. Why it's so hard to choose what's right for you, where that difficulty comes from, and what you can do about it. All right, message one. The first thing I want you to notice is this. A lot of the choices you are making aren't actually being made for you. They're being made for how they'll look. Think about the last big decision you made. The job, a program, a degree, a certification, a project, a commitment you said yes to. Ask yourself honestly, did you choose it because it was true for you? Or did you choose it because it was easy to explain? Because it sounded impressive when you said it out loud? Because no one would question it? Those are two very different filters. The filter of made for you versus how it will look. And most of us, if we're honest, are running our decisions through the second one, the how it will look, without even realizing it. It happens because the quote unquote looks good option is safer. It comes with built-in approval. When you choose the thing that makes sense on paper, so the expected or the quote unquote smart option, you don't have to defend it. Nobody raises an eyebrow. Nobody asks, are you sure? You get to skip the uncomfortable conversation entirely. But the option that's actually true for you, that one might not make sense to anyone else. It might not have an easy explanation. It might make people tilt their heads and go, wait, why would you do that? And so, without even meaning to, We start adjusting for the choice that requires the least explaining, not the choice that requires the most honesty. But this has a cost. When you keep choosing the looks good option, you build a life that photographs well, but it doesn't feel like yours. And over time, that gap between what your life looks like and what it actually feels like, it gets wider and harder to ignore. So this first message is simply an invitation to notice. Next time you're facing a choice, ask yourself, am I choosing this because it's good or because it looks good? Those aren't always the same thing, and knowing the difference is where this starts. All right, the second message goes a layer deeper, because choosing what looks good is one thing, but often underneath that, there's something even sneakier happening. You're not being honest with yourself about what you want in the first place. Here's what I mean. Sometimes we don't even get to the point of choosing between looks good and is good because we've already convinced ourselves that what looks good is what we want. We've told ourselves that story so many times, it stopped feeling like a story. It just feels like truth. You say you want the promotion, but if you're honest, do you actually want it? Or do you want what the promotion represents? Proof that you're valuable, proof that you're not falling behind, proof that people see you as capable. Another example, you say that you want what you have, but do you actually want that specific thing? Or do you not want to start over? Do you want to avoid the discomfort of admitting something didn't work out the way that you had hoped? This isn't about those desires being wrong. Instead, it's getting honest that they might not be the real desire. They might be a stand-in for something else. Safety, validation, avoidance. We do this because admitting what we want can feel terrifying. Because what you want might require you to disappoint someone. It might require you to walk away from something you've already invested years into. It might require you to admit that the path you're on, the one that you've possibly been so proud of, isn't the path you want to keep walking. So instead of sitting with that discomfort, we perform the want. We tell ourselves a story that convinces us the safe choice is also the true choice, and it feels easier until it doesn't. The second message is asking you to get quiet enough and honest enough to ask yourself, what do I actually want here? Not what sounds good, not what would make sense to explain. Instead, what is true underneath all of it? And you don't have to act on the answer today. You just have to stop lying to yourself about what it is. So then on to the final message, message 3. Now you've noticed you might be choosing what looks good over what's true. And you've started getting honest that you might not even know what you actually want yet. That's a lot to sit with, and it can leave you feeling stuck, frozen, staring at different options and not being able to move toward any of them. So the third message is about what to do with all of that, how to move through the fog instead of staying stuck in it. You don't need to have full clarity to take a next step. In fact, waiting for full clarity before you move is often what keeps you stuck. Clarity tends to show up after you move, not before. So instead of trying to solve the whole decision at once, ask, what's one small, low-stakes way I could test this? Not the leap, just a step. So if you think you want to leave your industry, don't quit tomorrow. Instead, have one conversation with someone doing the thing that you're curious about. Small steps give you real information without the total disruption of a big leap. Your mind is really good at building a case for the looks good option. It'll give you a bullet point list. It will give you pros and cons that make total sense. But your body knows things that your mind hasn't caught up to yet. So when you're weighing a choice, notice what happens in your body when you imagine each option. Does your chest tighten or does it open? Do you feel a settling within you or a touch of dread? That physical response is data. It's not the whole picture, but it's a piece your logical brain will happily talk you out of if you let it. So here's something that might be freeing. You don't have to get this exactly right. Choosing your actual truth doesn't mean you'll never second guess or never adjust it later. It just means that you're moving from honesty instead of performance. Perfection isn't the goal here. Alignment is. And alignment can still include uncertainty. It can still include changing your mind 6 months from now. What matters is that the choice you're making today is coming from you, not from what looks good, not from the story you've been telling yourself, but from what's actually true right now. So here's what I'd invite you to do this week. Take one decision you've been sitting on, just one. Ask yourself the 2 questions from earlier. Am I choosing this because it's good or because it looks good? And what do I actually want here underneath all the noise? Then pick one small step, the next honest move. That's how you get out of the fog. It's not all at once. It's just one honest step at a time. A recap of our 3 messages. First, notice when you're choosing what looks good instead of what's truly deeply good for you. Those aren't always the same thing, and most of us default to the option that's easiest to explain rather than the one that's true. Second, get honest with yourself about what you want underneath performance. Sometimes what you think you want is really just a stand-in for safety or validation, and it takes real honesty to see past that. Third, you don't need full clarity to start moving. Take small steps instead of big leaps. Pay attention to what your body is telling you and give yourself permission to choose imperfectly. Alignment doesn't require certainty. It just requires honesty. You already know what an aligned choice feels like. You have felt it before. The work now is choosing to trust that feeling even when the unaligned option looks better on paper. Okay. One more reminder before we go. If you have a question about your career, your life direction, or a choice you're sitting with right now, submit it. Again, your name stays private, and I genuinely love to help you work through it on the show. The link is in the show notes to submit your question. And if what you heard today resonated, I'd love to support you in going deeper. Soul Reading is a 75-minute one-on-one session where I open your Akashic records, which are like the library of you, and help you reconnect with what your soul already knows about your path, your purpose, and what's next. You can learn more and book at angelamckayllc.com/soul-reading. And if this episode landed for you, subscribe or follow so you don't miss what's coming next. New episodes drop on Wednesdays. Thanks for being here, and until next time, take care.